Oh,
It's
people
just
are mad that the Affordable Care Act is going to go away because they thought it was just going to be Obamacare that went
right,
away.
right,
And now they're mad at Democrats for calling it Obamacare
hmm
when it was them who called it Obamacare
right,
so that they could try to tank it.
right,
I think everything is going to come down to a couple of sad realities. Right-wing news media and corporate media has failed us, and the information is not getting out to people. People asking if they can change their vote, people Googling what a tariff is, people,
right.
a 700% increase in people Googling what a tariff is. I mean, how many times can we say it? We're speaking to people who know what a tariff is.
Right.
So everybody's kind of siloed. The information ecosystem, the media ecosystem is a huge problem. And then, of course, everything boils down to the Supreme Court. It's been bought, it's been captured. We lost it in 2016 because people just didn't like the Hillary vibe, I guess. And now we are here with an overturned Dobbs, an overturned Chevron doctrine, no more affirmative action, and of course, presidential immunity. And everybody who's asking me, what can we do? Everything I think of can just be undone by the Supreme Court. People are pointing fingers at certain voting blocks. People are pointing
Mhm.
fingers at Biden not dropping out soon enough or dropping out at all. Or
Right.
people are blaming Harris for not being more clear on her policy. People are blaming the Department of Justice for not, I don't know, being John Wick. They wanted a John Wick attorney general. And it doesn't matter because it could have been Doug Jones, it could have been Sally Yates, it could have been any number of people that everybody wanted to see be the attorney general. They could have arrested Donald Trump in March of 2021 when the attorney general finally got there. He would still have been put out on bail. He still would have filed his interlocutory immunity appeal, and he would not have gone to trial before the election. The people, the voters, are the single biggest check on the executive, and the voters failed. And that's what happened in 2016. It's why we have this Supreme Court. And for people it's just an interesting choice to me. I understand a lot of people don't like Merrick Garland because he was kind of quiet, timid, didn't come out and say a bunch of stuff, but he did indict the man, and he was the first to do so. He beat all the state attorneys general. And now, we're at this point where I get if you don't like him, but to blame the guy who has spent a lifetime in justice, ended up as a judge on the federal bench, was appointed to the Supreme Court by Obama. Mitch McConnell rebuffed it. The guy who was named by Joe Biden to be the attorney general and who said, I'm going to take this job to pay back the country that saved my parents from Nazis. To blame that guy and let John Roberts off the hook and Harlan Crow off the hook and Leonard Leo off the hook is mind-boggling to me. So we have a garbage constitution interpreted by garbage people, and people want to blame Dearborn, Michigan, or it's fascinating to me. I mean, I don't quite understand it, and I really, I'm not trying to be a Garland apologist. He's done a lot of shit that I don't agree with. Can I say shit on here? I'm saying shit.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want. Yeah.
I can list a bunch of things that I really disagreed with him on: the Barr memo, not releasing that, not being more against what Bill Barr did when the DOJ wanted to represent E. Jean Carroll, for example. I think there was a lot of mistakes. I think he should have appointed a special counsel in 2021, but as I said, we still wouldn't have gotten a trial before the election. But to blame him and let John Roberts off the hook, I still am kind of reeling from that. But that's my goal, is to when I defend the facts of the case. When people say he waited 2 years and did nothing, that's not a fact. He actually created an investigative unit the week he got there to investigate Donald Trump. He actually, in 2021, when he got there, the FBI and Christopher Wray and Trump holdovers refused to execute his search warrants against John Eastman and Jeffrey Clark and Congressman Scott Perry. So Merrick Garland went to the post office cops to get his search warrants executed. Like, he did all these things. It's not out there in the world because the DOJ doesn't talk about it. But the reason I do that is not to defend the man. It's just to put the facts out there. So, because I think that the message should be, and I think that the anger and the rage should be with this Supreme Court and the people, the rich white dudes who put them there. If that makes sense, that's kind of why I'm a little bit. People call me a Garland apologist, and I'm like, I'm just
I was wondering
putting
what
facts
struck me.
out.
Got it. No, I wanted to make sure I let you speak on it because I saw the comment. But it's this is Allison Gill for anybody who doesn't know. If you live under a rock, then that's cool. But Allison Gill, AKA Mueller, she wrote one of the biggest podcasters in the country and the world, and one of my favorite shows that's ever been on before. A rock star, a person who you definitely know more about. I remember when I used to try and interpret law, even via lawyers, and you can explain it in a way where I understand, and that's a tall order. So I
Well, I
appreciate
read
that.
Ellie Mistal's book, right?
Oh
Allow
yeah,
Me to
yeah,
Retort.
excellent.
That spoke at great length about the massive loopholes in our Constitution that benefit wealthy white men.
Yeah,
And I think if you haven't read that book, first of all, it's very funny, it's very well written, but it's really important to kind of understand, for me at least, where these loopholes exist, where the fault lies, and who benefits. Right? I'm not out here stumping for Garland because it's popular and it makes people like me. Like, I'm just like, if I was like anti-Garland, I'd probably be a millionaire by now. I'm just trying to put facts out there, and I'm hoping that people direct their focus where it belongs.
right.
And I'm not saying your anger doesn't belong with Garland. Maybe you hate the guy. That's totally up to you. That's all. We're free to do that. I think it should be at the Supreme Court.
Yeah, and you now are on Substack as well. Obviously, you're joining me here today, and you did a piece on. You had mentioned some billionaires just a moment ago. You did a piece on the media landscape right now, and we've been talking about corporate media, and even just some friends that run some headlines over there that I've made over the years. I'll be like, I think it was the day of the debate with Kamala Harris. CNN ran a thing of like, these are the 3 challenges that she's going to need to overcome. And I hadn't had my coffee yet. So I was like, tweet, blah, 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 blah. And then that thing went freaking viral and they changed it within 11 minutes. And my friend's like, dude, like, can't you just email me? I'm like, no, because you guys try to call, like, you're like, oh, well, we've got this and we're not going to stick with this headline. Give me excuses off the record and blah, blah, blah. And so long story short, I've just gotten sick of. I have friends. I know that you have friends that have been on both networks, host shows, whatever. But there are some not so good ones that are out there as well. But what do you think we can do? I mean, we have great people that we can get news from. Yourself, Midas, and a bunch of other friends. But what can we do in regards to just this pelting of propaganda that's been constant? I mean, you have people who just don't know which way is up, blaming Biden for the price of groceries when there's corporate greed out there, and they don't even look at the corporation at all. Like nothing even focused on like why cereal bags are smaller and more expensive. Branding and things like that. It drives me nuts because it's not the root of the issue. And then you have Elon Musk promoting on his platform, like, hey, this is the truth. And so it's hard to fight against someone who owns the social media company and then people who own the corporate media, the stations and whatnot. And then there's Sinclair and all the, AM channels and whatnot.
It's a huge right-wing media machine. But, I'm going to borrow some words from Henry Rollins. He said, this is punk rock time. This is what Joe Strummer trained you for. And, 2 years ago, I set out to write a book. It was done about a year ago. I pitched it. It's about media failure, corporate media failure. And everyone told me, nobody wants to read about that. And so that Substack post about Pump Up the Volume that you're talking about is one of the chapters in that book, A New Media Revolution. And so I've been thinking about this for a while. I talk about it on my podcast all the time. So I'm not like Wolf or Woodward who saves up a bunch of shit and then puts it out after the election. I've been talking about this for a while.
Right.
And I tried to get it out to a wider audience. Nobody wanted to hear it. And I think a lot of the problem is it's going to be hard to kind of go after corporate media and then also be on corporate media to promote your book about how you should go after a corporate media.
Right.
Nobody will want to interview you. Nobody will want, yeah. So that's where that came from. And just this past week, somebody said, somebody wrote into the Daily Beans. We do good news at the end, and people write in and share their good news. So we have a little bit, we call it microdosing hope, which is a Brene Brown phrase, but they were like, what can I do? I'm gay. I have a husband. I've got some dogs. I'm doing this. I work here. I work in these fields. I want to do something. And I thought back to this chapter that I wrote. And just like in Pump Up the Volume, I just kind of want everybody to grab a mic and tell their story because, and steal the air, right? Talk hard, as they say in the movie, because the most powerful revolutionary tool is when someone helps you not feel like you're alone.
Mm-hmm.
When someone is like, I'm not crazy. Yeah, I'm a blue dot in a red sea, but I'm not crazy. You can't gaslight someone who knows they're not alone.
Right.
And that's why autocrats and corporate media want to isolate you so that you feel alone and you feel despair. And we can't afford despair. It's punk rock time, steal the air, talk hard, all that shit. It's like super motivating to me. So I am encouraging everybody to grab a microphone, pick up a pen, pick up a paintbrush, pick up your guitar, and make art, speak out, tell your story so that you can find community. And if we start and treat the new media landscape like we treat grassroots campaigns, from the bottom up, like Joe Biden's economy, bottom up, middle out, instead of top down. And we have this kind of trickle up sort of revolution. I think that's the best way to approach it. And so now, from now on, since the corporations didn't want to buy my book, I'm going to be releasing chapters on my Substack for free.
Right.
And obviously you can kick money into the Substack, but everything on my Substack is free.
Right.
And it's going to remain that way.
Same here, yeah.
And so that's why I put out that piece, because I was inspired by that gentleman who wrote into the Daily Beans, and community is everything right now.
Yeah, and you've done an awesome job with your stack, and it's quality work, and it's also, I don't think that people can really get the same take from anywhere else, and that's not blowing smoke. I obviously believe that. But yeah, I think that I highly recommend, if you see her right there, that you go to Mueller, She Wrote. It's called The Breakdown on Substack, and subscribe to her, become a paid subscriber. Like my stuff, it's free. With my stuff, obviously, there is a gate that closes on comments for good reason. People like to troll in the archives and things like that. But you've been a leader for years now, and so helpful. Let's say that to someone, you talk about someone who may be feeling some things right now. Maybe we can end on a note of, let's say someone is still feeling that punch in the gut kind of thing. They haven't been in campaigns for 20 years, or they haven't experienced anything close to even this before. Because it's overwhelming to see that this many people would look past this much of a criminal who already should be behind bars in a lot of people's minds. So what would you say to that person who just can't right now? I mean, I've told them, take your time, do your stuff, but we do need everybody to kind of get together now rather than later so that we can get moving. But what words of wisdom would you give to somebody that just right now they're stuck?
Well, first of all, to answer the questions and the podcast is called The Daily Beans. We've got a really great community over there. And I bring you the headlines that you need without the bullshit that you get on cable news. So that's one way to get your news. Same by following you, following our Substacks, and following our social media. Blue Sky is a breath of fresh air. And I found out Jack Dorsey is no longer a part of it, so I feel much better
Wow.
about that. It's actually run by a daughter of immigrants, and it's fantastic.
Right.
My advice would be it is a gut punch. I can't put a pretty coat of paint on the shit that's going to happen in the next 4 years. It's going to be awful, but we need to pay attention to it. We can't ignore it. That's my goal right now, is to put my head down and make sure people know what's going on and do the work. But you're not alone. It is a gut punch. But also, please don't listen to people who tell you this was a landslide or a mandate. A couple million votes separate. And I think one of the things we can focus on in the next couple of years is to, at first I thought the reason that fewer people showed up to this election was because I thought there's no way that's possible, because it should be easier to vote now, because it was harder to, because COVID was in 2020. But it was actually easier to vote during COVID because 33 states initiated full-on state mail-in ballots. We need to start working with our governors where we've got the power to do it and put statewide mail-in voting into effect, because the issue right now, and I don't know how to change this, is that hate and fear and anger motivate people to get up out of their houses and go vote more than love and democracy and community. And so the solution to that, the antidote to that, is to make voting easier. And so we got to support people like Democracy Docket and Mark Elias. We got to support people who are working to push governors to initiate statewide mail-in voting. We have to make it easier to vote, because I don't know how to conquer the power of hate and fear other than to help everybody feel like they're not alone and make it easier to vote.
Well, we appreciate you so much. I know you'll be back again, hopefully, and we'll do more
Sure,
more
maybe
of
I'll get a
this.
holder for my phone so I'm not all shaky. Like I'm sitting
It's
there
more
in my
natural that
studio.
way.
I'm sitting there in
It's
my
it's
studio with my computer, and you're like, "No, Gil, you're gonna have to get an app on your phone for this."
it's cool because we all became our own producers for a little bit during COVID, and I'd been in music for my entire life, so it was interesting to get back into sound engineering. But no, there's wonderful tricks of the trade where we'll fiddle with it so that you won't have any shakiness when they
Look
see
at that!
it.
My plant in the background is dying. It's been alive for 4 years. The election killed my plant. My
Oh
plant is
no!
depressed. My
Yeah,
plant is depressed. You guys, I need to fix this.
man.
That's my number one step on the road to fighting back, is to get a new plant.
No, that's well. I'm still here. Mine is still somehow thriving. Somebody else must have been watering. No, I've been good with it. I set a calendar alert.
Hey, have you
To
stopped watching cable news? I haven't watched cable news in a week, and it's usually on 24/7. And I have to tell you, I feel really great.
Yeah, I haven't. I've watched little clips here and there. I let Asen and Aaron Rupar watch them for me.
Yep.
I haven't been watching. I get a briefing. It's an auto-populated thing that I'll see different tweets or whatever from the Orange Monster and look at different things, different posts that have gone viral on both sides of things. But I don't do what I used to, which is look at everything and the analytics behind everything and seeing if there's bot networks. Like it's just not the same
Yeah,
anymore.
man. Yeah,
The
man.
information diet. You got to
And
be careful.
what's great about the Daily Beans is I give you the headlines in the first minute, and
Right.
then we break down a couple of them, and then we have listener submitted good news to pick you up at the end with
Right.
pet photos and baby pictures. And so some people listen for the first minute to get their headlines, but if you need to get the information in a way that doesn't suck, pop in your earbuds, go for a walk, a 45-minute walk. That'll burn enough calories to have 2 glasses of wine when you're done, and listen to the Daily Beans. You'll get your news. It's women run, women owned. It's incredibly inclusive and wonderful community. And I think that's just, I'm going to keep doing that until maybe other ideas present themselves. So
Awesome. No, I think that's great. And I have an idea, which I'll mention to you offline, about an investigation we're working on that you obviously should be involved with. But that's something separate. So everybody get excited about that, the thing that doesn't exist yet. But no, that's really great. And we'll have a link to everything that Allison's mentioned. We'll have links to that in the post of this, because we will take this. If you've missed any of this conversation, we'll have a full recap of that, and in a post as well. So Allison, I guess, thank you for spending so much time with me. You took a lot more time than I asked for. I really appreciate it. Of course, I'd use the entire day if I could. But yeah, this was really awesome. Thanks for taking the time.
no, thank you. It's like it fills my heart to be able to talk to like-minded people, and everyone should do this. FaceTime a friend, call a friend, talk to a friend. It's pretty cathartic considering how down we all are, and I know that the whiplash we felt on Wednesday, it's the whiplash, right? We were so sure, we were so happy, and we were so excited, and I knew where my life was going, and then that just was all over in a night. And talking to my friends like you really, really helps, and bouncing ideas off of people, and it's that community. So thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for everyone, the 1,000 of you that have joined. That's awesome on Substack. We appreciate you. And again, this will be put into a post. Thank you, Allison. Take care.